we're going to be releasing some legislative tracking soon, but like all these anti-CRT things are still like kind of coming, and I mean, it's like on one level I hate talking about this stuff endlessly because it's just like it's such a like made up sort of anxiety from white people. Like it's like we need something to be angry
Isn't
about.
everything? No.
It really is. Like, at the end of the day, it really is. Like you can't tax me one penny more because I don't know, someone might get something they don't deserve. Anyway, it's just like totally made up. Yeah, but with the Supreme Court thing coming, like I retweeted this just because I like Hannah Jones, just because she has like caused so much angst in people that
hell yeah.
deserve it.
I love it.
But it is like there is like sort of this issue of like how people think about race, and how we talk about that in a way that's productive instead of like constantly having to be forced back into the frames of like these like crazy conservatives who have just like tied themselves in pretzels. Like like people now are saying because Joe Biden's announced that he's gonna pick a black woman to be the next Supreme Court justice, people are like see, like that's racism. And it's like, Hannah Jones of course points out from 1790 to 1967 every single member of the Supreme Court was selected initially through an exclusionary criteria of race and gender. Like, they were all white men. Like, and a woman was not even allowed to be considered. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I just... and then, of course, too, just to tie into this conversation, the Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson thing, I don't know if you caught any of that, but like...
Yeah.
Joe Rogan talked with this right-wing Canadian philosopher. I'm calling him that because he's a fucking moron. But Jordan Peterson, who's just like, he's like one of those white guys that like sounds really smart, but he's actually saying like nothing, and he's just preaching nonsense. I think
There's
it's
a lot of
like
those.
psychology, but it's like, again, trying to argue that like, the real racism is like this woke left and trying to talk about our history and. Being mad at white people for all the many things that they did.
So he said, it's very strange to call someone black unless that person is 100% African from the darkest place. He also said something about places where they don't wear clothes all day and something weird about that. It's like, people wear clothes everywhere. Like, people wear clothes.
So racist.
I want to go to the place where people don't wear clothes. Because who made up this bullshit societal construct?
Right.
Like, where are those people? I'm going there.
I should remember this.
Oh yeah, the antisocial emotional learning thing. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's all tied together, right? Like all this stuff is like made up white grievance about. I don't know. I mean, ultimately, it probably comes back to like, white nationalism, like white replacement theory.
Absolutely.
Anti-Semitism. So, but it's like, how do we? And I'm not trying to put this on you. I've been talking about this. Ron Jones was, in this slot before until he got busy with work and stuff. We would talk about this a lot. It's just like, how do we move this conversation out of this sort of like freaking out about CRT or social emotional learning or just bullshit, get it into like where it really needs to be, which is, in my opinion, like reparations.
Here's how.
Yeah, all this stuff.
We have to stop feeding into this bullshit.
Yeah.
I feel like the left, the more that we try to respond to a lot of this stuff, the more that we're fueling those fires, and the more that we get angry and react, the more that they're scared, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so dumb. Like, I've gotten to a point where I used to literally tweet about everything, or I would talk about everything on social media. I would make these long ass threads and post it, like, just talking about my feelings on different issues or different stupid shit white people are doing in the world. And I don't even do that anymore. Like, I'm not going to waste my energy. And it's, for example, it's not that I don't care, but I didn't tweet about Hardly yesterday about Donald Grant. And it's just because it's so emotionally exhausting. Like, I don't know. moving these conversations forward, the only way we're going to do that is within the people who are willing to have constructive conversations. So it's never going to happen with someone who thinks literally teaching the nation's history is the worst thing that you can do. Like, I'm not with that burning book shit, because that's what leads to Hitler's. Okay? Like, it should tell you something about people who literally are fighting education, right? Because all throughout slavery, black people weren't allowed to be taught how to read. You know, even after slavery, we weren't allowed to have certain jobs. We weren't allowed to be educated, you know, and still to this day, the fact that like Joe Biden won't abolish the damn student loans is a form of racism, you know, to keep marginalized people from getting higher education. And so it's like, you can't have these conversations with people who ain't even willing to have it. Like, and education plays a big role into this, because these motherfuckers are so uneducated that this is what they think.
Yeah.
This is their reality. These are their fears. Like, I don't know.
No, I agree.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, the way I process it, sort of electorally, because you know, I try to talk to friends about it, but it does make many white folks upset. You know, when you try to go hard at them about this, to the point where like they shut down. You know, like you're not having a real conversation.
Now, for example, certain ones like a Rob Standridge or a Nathan
Yeah,
Dom,
yeah,
like
yeah.
hell yeah, I won
Drag
your
them
ass.
away, yeah.
But like these random Confederate flag carrying hillbillies, I'm not. You mad? I ain't finna argue with you.
Yeah.
No.
So, yeah, and so like I think where I get, I don't know if optimistic's the right word, but where I see a path is like all the people who are sort of disconnected from this, you know, like, and that could be where I could make an argument for voter rights and access, you know, making sure that people of color and marginalized groups can vote more easily. But really just, I believe we should be investing resources in those communities to engage them to the process, because they need the power to be able to affect the change that they need, and the only way to do that is to get them plugged in.
I also think that like these are very small groups of people yelling across the room at each other. Like, this is not the vast majority of the general public. Like, people ain't talking about this shit.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Nobody.
So yeah, to that point. So the ACLU, I'll pull this up and then we can close on the Forest deal. So, you know, right now, last cycle, House Bill 1775, a bill that severely restricts public school teachers and students from learning and talking about race, gender, and sexuality in the classroom, is going into effect. The State Department of Ed has had rules out since, I guess, September is what I heard on NPR today, and they're about to finalize the rules next week. So the ACLU is asking people to submit public comment, just saying, and I'll drop the link in chat. Go do it. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to look through it. To just try and get them to be like, you know, yeah, we understand you have to follow the law, but like, don't be fucking crazy about it. But what I thought was interesting, and to your point, is they've had these rules out since September, and they have received 2 complaints. In the entire state of Oklahoma, 2 people have called in and said a teacher, and they didn't say whether it was like about, you know, reading like Their Eyes Were Watching God or something, you know, like some, or, you know, the Harper Lee book, I can't remember the title anyway. They didn't say what it was about, but it was like 2 complaints like that. But that's just going to show that like nobody gives like nobody is like in the general public is sitting here being like, oh my god, my kid's learning CRT, that's the worst thing I've ever experienced. like nobody cares.
There was a poll by Reuters whenever this first became a thing, like all of this CRT bullshit. I believe it was Reuters, and literally they did a whole article about how no one in the country even knows what the fuck CRT is.
You're right.
Like, people don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
And you're all afraid your kids are getting taught critical race theory, and that's literally a college level subject. Like, they're not getting taught that if they are in high school or below. Like, you're just uneducated, so you want your kids to be uneducated? I don't know.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching our video. Please give it a like and hit that subscribe button for more content. If you want to engage with us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram.